Hi, this is Don from Ridge Engineering. In this web video, I'm going to show you the status of the new software I've been writing to replace the existing PC Travel version 2. This has been needed to be done for a long time now. PC Travel version 1 and version 2 were written in Visual Basic 6, which is a language that Microsoft has stopped supporting for years, like 10 years. And software written in it was written well before Windows 7 or Windows 8, and because of that, there's always little complications in trying to run software in the newer operating systems. So the software needs to be written in a modern language that is very much aware of Windows 7 and Windows 8 and knows how to run cleanly in those environments, and that's what this new software is going to do. We decided not to reinvent the wheel, so we pretty much just rewrote the existing PC Travel in the new Visual Basic language. It's called VB.NET, and it's pretty much going to look much like the older version. The main difference is most of the screens are bigger because most people these days are using bigger monitors, and you always have to write the software to run on the smallest reasonable monitor that people use. And in days gone by, that was an 800 by 600 monitor, which is really tiny. I mean, that's much smaller than an iPad, for example. So now most monitors on desktops and even on laptops have a lot more pixels to play with, so we made the screens a little bigger and put more stuff on them to make it a little bit easier to use. So I'm going to go through the software. It's not done yet by any means, but it's coming along. And this is primarily for people that are familiar with PC Travel version 2. If you've never seen this software before, then it probably won't make a lot of sense. But if you're a PC Travel user, then you'll understand almost everything that we show you right away. So, just like in PC Travel version 2, when you run the software, you get a startup options screen. This will probably be changed to make it look a little bit more interesting, but at the moment it's functional, and it has the basic elements that we need. It has the licensing information, and it has the various options that you can do when you first start running the software. So one of the first things you're going to do is define, edit the program preferences, and this has most of the same things that were on the other software. Instead of in multiple tabs, they're all on one screen because again we have a little bit more room, and there are the paths to where the various files are stored. There's some parameters that you can set in the software. There's the report titles that you want the default values printed on the reports. And there may be some other settings as we go along. Normally you would make these settings once and you wouldn't change them again, or at least not often. So one of the first things that you might want to do is open an existing study. So let's start there. I'm going to click on that. And you get a screen where you can select the study that you want to open, and it shows you the studies that are in the selected folder, and at the moment the current data files path is the default value with data files. And we have two studies, and if I click on a study, it shows you the names of the runs in the selected study. It doesn't show you any other information. We might add more information. So if you think that's important, let us know. But right now it just shows you the names of the runs, and it just helps you pick the right study. So let's just pick a simple study. Now this is a combination of a couple of screens from version 2. This is a screen where you build up the study and also where you can see your node information, and also you can see the results of the statistical analysis of the study, all on one screen. So a lot of information on this screen. It's a little busy, but I think once you get used to it, you'll appreciate everything that's up here. So it has the name of the study and the date, and those are changeable. There's a note field. You can change the notes. It shows you the list of runs, very much like you're used to before. And the controls are pretty much the same. You can add runs, remove runs. You can edit a run. And at the moment, there's just a few things that you can edit. If you remember in the other version, there was a lot of stuff that you could play with. But this is all that people ever really edited, so we simplified it. And there's the speed categories for the studies, the delay speed, the stop speed, that's all the same. So the left-hand side of the screen is pretty much what the main screen was before. And this side is really all new. And what this shows you is, first of all, it shows you the node names, the length of the nodes for that study. And it has the totals in a separate section down here. And it also calculates the statistics for this particular study. So if you make a change over here, it'll automatically get reflected over here. Now if you don't want to see all this stuff, for example, if you're just building up a study, you can just hide the statistics and just see the node names and distances. Now, as before, all studies have to have a list of node names and distances, because typically your statistics are going to be based on not just the entire route, but the individual segments in the route. And you have to get that information into the study somehow. And as the primary way to do it now is going to be on the map. And we'll get to the map in a minute. So normally you'll create a study, add the nodes and their names on the map. And then by the time you get to this screen, it'll already be here. But there are other mechanisms to get the node information. We have what we call a template, which is a little bit different than what we used to call templates in PC Travel. And I'll probably do a separate tutorial to explain how these all work. But you can get the node information from a template, from an existing study, or from an existing run, if it happens to be a what we used to call a primary run, one that has nodes in it. So if I select a run that doesn't have any nodes in them, then that button is no longer available. So if I'm building up a study from scratch and I need to build the node names, I have different mechanisms for doing that. Now from this screen I can also show some plots, which is something we haven't decided if we're actually going to do yet. So the idea here is you would see the various plots that we have in the reports, but on this screen, so you can sort of get a look at your data before you go to the report section. We're not sure if that's really necessary because it's so quick to get to the reports, but we're playing with it. So if we add this, then you would be able to select among several different plots, and it would show up in this section up here. You can go to the map from here if you want to edit any of the runs or do any map functions. And I'm not going to go through the map too much because it really hasn't changed that much from PC Travel version 2. Now one thing to remember is this web video, the way it works is I can't use my entire screen when I'm building up the video. So I have to use smaller screens when I'm actually doing this recording. So the map normally is much bigger than what is visible here. And that's another reason why I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now. But this pretty much has all the same features that you're used to from version 2. And again, there'll probably be more tutorials for the map, but if you're a version 2 user, then you're probably relatively familiar with this. And this hasn't changed much at all, so I'm not going to focus on it right now. Now, the other thing we can do is we can start a study from scratch. So if I hit New Study, everything goes blank. And again, you have to add runs. And it comes up with a screen, and it's loading the run files. And let's just say I wanted to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I select those, so I've got the runs in there, but there aren't any node names and distances yet. And I don't have any from, I don't have a primary run in here. So I can get the information from a template, and I happen to have a template for this route. And then that puts the information up here. This isn't a particularly interesting one. Maybe I can find a different study, use the study we used before, and that puts up some better looking node names and distances. So I can copy the node names and distances from a source, and typically they would be in a run that you would edit on the map. So I'm going to open a different type of study, a mixed study in this case. This is a study that has both before and after studies, after runs. And you can see that the statistics shows the before and the after and the change for each of the statistics in each of the segments. So that's shown up on the screen. And also for the totals, it has that information down here as well. Now, and everything else about the study is the same. And anytime I want to, I can save a study, and whatever name is up here, again, that's very much like PC Travel version 2. Now I can go to the reports from this screen, and again, because we have more real estate, we have more information on the screen. So again, this is a combination of two different screens from PC Travel version 2. It's the selection screen that you're used to, but also the report option screen that you normally would have to bounce back and forth from. So in here it's all on one screen, and you can make your selections and everything changes to reflect it. So again, I can select all the reports and it calculates that there's 41 pages. I can clear the reports. I can select which reports I want, and it calculates the number of pages. All that's very much the same. If I make changes over here and they affect anything over here, for example, the distance per page, I could change this to say 16,000 feet, and these reports go from 2 pages to 1 page per report, and so the total number of pages is adjusted as well. So I get everything going up here, and let's pick a couple of there and one of these. That should be enough. I hit OK, and I get a screen again that shows the summary, and this is another screen that normally fills the monitor, but because of the way I'm making this web video, it shows a smaller version than what you would normally see. So this is what you see is a little bit more compressed than what you'll actually see in the software, but and this is a little bit different. So you can see the individual pages down the side, and you can go to a page very quickly. You can have different views if you want. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do with this stuff. One page at a time. It prints a table of contents just like before, and the reports are almost identical to their reports in PC Travel. The colors are a little bit better, but pretty much the same. This is the travel time by run by section, so you can see the information. These are the plots. This is the speed distance profile of all runs, and unlike in PC Travel, you can adjust the scale on that previous page and to make it all fit on one page, or have it go to 2 if you want. Same thing for the time-space trajectory. Again, these are also color-coded, and it shows a legend, which is a little bit different than in PC Travel version 2. But pretty much they look like the reports you're used to. This report looks pretty much the same. It fills in. You can turn the fill on or off if you want. You can turn the speed category lines on or off. So you have a lot of flexibility, and you've always had that flexibility, but most people never even knew those report options were there, and so they didn't use them nearly as much as you will now that it's all on one screen in front of you. And then when you're done, you can print to a printer, you can print to a file, and there's a whole bunch of different file formats you can use. You can zoom in to see zoom in on the so if you want to look and see what it's going to look like, you can zoom in. So a very powerful report previewer, which is nice. Alright, and so exit, and you go right back and you have all the settings. If you made a little mistake or you want to see what it looks like with a different setting, you can just play with it until you're happy. Okay. Oops, I meant to hit the cancel button. So now we can also process data that was collected with GPS to LT2. And again, you get a screen, and you can pick the screen you want to use. And this screen, this is the View GPS Data screen, and this is also very much like the screen in PC Travel version 2. So I'm not going to go through all the various features of here, but the basic idea is still the same. You find and fix any missing data points. You adjust the run date. You break the runs into individual runs if you collect the data with a data logger or some system that doesn't generate individual runs for you. And when you're done, you can save the runs, and then you can go to the next screen, which is pretty much the screen that we used to call process runs in temp folder. It's still a good name because we still have a temp folder where the runs are stored temporarily, but now we have a screen that's a little bit more complicated than before, but not much, and it has the same basic idea. Is you have runs, you can rename the runs, and then you can move them into a folder, and if you want to, you can create a new folder. So it's easy to create a new folder. You just click on a button, you get a new folder like you do in Windows, and we can call this test 1, and then we can move these by just hitting the move button. It moves them over to this test 1 folder, and now you can see that they're over there. I didn't rename them, but you should remember how this is all done. So from here you can go to the map screen, which is typically where you would go, because you would create these runs and then you would go and process them and trim them and add nodes if necessary to create either a primary run or a template, and then you exit. And you can also process 10 and 2 GPS data if you're collecting data with the 10 and 2 video camera that's sold by L2 Data Collection. And we don't have it enabled yet, but you'll also be able to process data that's collected with various data loggers. And these data loggers are convenient in that you don't have to have a laptop or a netbook with you out in the car. They do require a little bit more work to separate the data out, but some people like them a lot, and so we will have full support for various data loggers by the time this software is available. And then we also have on here, sometimes you don't finish what you're working on and you need to get back into the process runs in temp folder screen, so you can get right there from here, and you can also get right to the map if you want to just get right into the mapping and editing and trimming and all that stuff. So you can do all that from the startup screen. Well, that's about it. If you're used to PC Travel version 2, you won't have any trouble adjusting to this. We have no idea when this is going to be ready, but relatively soon, I think. And we don't have a firm policy on who will get this, but probably anybody who bought PC Travel version 2, either a new license or an updated license in 2013, will get a free copy of this. And then people that are older, have older licenses than that, will have an opportunity to upgrade to this if they choose to. You don't have to upgrade. There's not that much new in here, but the reports are a little better. The flow of the program is certainly a lot simpler, and we're going to be adding more and more stuff to this version, and we're not going to be updating PC Travel version 2 at all once this version is released. So, and also this software will run a little bit better in Windows 7 and Windows 8. It'll recognize the library folders that you typically use in Windows 7. You won't have to run the software in XP compatibility mode, which you often have to do to make it run properly. So there'll be some nice reasons to upgrade. Look for more tutorials and more information on this on the PCTravel.com website. Thank you.